The depth of your pain is an indication of the height of your future. When you've been through a great disappointment, great heartache, great struggle, that tells me you have a great future. The enemy meant it for harm, but God knows how to turn it to your advantage. You're not going to come out the same. You're going to come out stronger, with more faith, more courage, greater character, greater passion.
So it's something we all got to pay attention to. There is a blessing in everything. Behind every moment of adversity in your life, there is a blessing and a lesson. Pain always leaves a gift. Always. God is a merciful God. He didn't bring you this far to leave you. He didn't set you up to fail. You're tripping, man. Even if you're wrong, He forgives us. Just keep moving, man. It ain't nothing. Now look, I've had some painful moments in this like you. But hey, I look for the bright side, man. I expect something good to happen.
Pain is a part of life. It's easy to get discouraged, think, why is this happening to me? One of the best principles I've learned is don't put a question mark where God has put a period. One reason is we can't see the big picture for our lives. If you have a puzzle, on the front of the box, there's the picture. As a whole, it's fantastic, so beautiful. But if you were to take one piece and isolate it, you would think, look at this funny looking piece. It's not going to fit anywhere. It's an odd shape. But the fact is, that piece has a perfect place. When the other pieces come together, it will fit in. In the same way, sometimes we look at pieces in our lives that don't make sense. I lost a loved one. I'm going through cancer. This piece couldn't be a part of God's plan. But you have to trust that even in the painful times, God doesn't make any mistakes.
Many of you know that God will make things uncomfortable to get you out of your comfort zone, to put you in a place of purpose and destiny, to rise to the height of your calling and soar above your adversities and fly like the eagle you were created to be.
God never said that we would understand everything that happens along the way, but He did promise that it would all work out for our good. The key is what we do in our times of pain. Pain will change us. If you go through a divorce, a friend betrays you, eventually that will pass. You'll get through it, but you will be different. You can come out bitter, or you can come out better. You can come out defeated, giving up on your dreams, or you can come out with a new passion, excited about the new opportunities in front of you. My challenge, don't just go through it, grow through it. That difficulty is an opportunity to get stronger, to gain new confidence. Anybody can give up. But you know what that's doing? Wasting your pain. The scripture talks about how God is in control, not just of our lives, but He's in control of our enemies. The enemy may turn on the fire, but the good news is God has His hand on the thermostat. He knows what we can handle. If it was going to harm us rather than help us, God would have turned back the intensity. It's helpful to remind yourself, I may be in this fire, but I know who controls the temperature. The God who is for me and not against me. The God who takes pleasure in prospering me, He's in complete control. He's not going to let it defeat me. I may not like it, but I'm not a whiner. I know I can handle this. We've all heard the saying, no pain, no gain. If everything was always easy, we wouldn't be prepared for our destiny. Every struggle is making you stronger. Every painful time, even though you don't like it, it's developing something in you that can only be developed in the tough times. Without the pain, we couldn't reach the fullness of our destinies. We were not created to float through life on flowery beds of ease. Difficulties are a part of life. In those tough times, God is getting you prepared. Now quit telling yourself you can't take it. You're not weak. You are well able. The reason the fire is so hot is because God has something amazing in your future. See, God doesn't just randomly say, let me give them some pain to make their life miserable. There is a purpose for the pain. We may not always understand it, but I can tell you, if God allowed it, He knows how to bring good out of it. Now, I'm not going to just go through it. I'm going to grow through it. I'm going to keep a good attitude, knowing that this pain is leading to my gain. Sometimes we bring pain on ourselves. Get in a relationship we know is not good, or maybe get over our head in our spending. We're having to deal with the consequences. And God is full of mercy. He'll always give us the grace to get out of it. Be big enough to look back and say, okay, here's where I missed it. I ignored the warnings. I got out of God's time and got in a hurry. Not going to do that anymore. There's a lesson in the pain. A man I know has struggled with diabetes most of his life. I saw him recently. He looks better than ever. He said, Joel, that stay in the hospital was a wake-up call for me. I've changed my diet. I exercise every day. I feel like a new man. He learned the lesson. We talk a lot about letting go of the past. And yes, that's true. But another way to say it is remember the lesson. But if you go through a painful time and you don't come out with what you were supposed to learn, you're doing yourself a disservice. Don't keep repeating the same mistakes again and again. Are you struggling in a relationship because you keep saying everything you feel like saying? Here's a news flash. The pain will stop if you zip it up. Other times we experience pain that have nothing to do with our choices. We were doing the right thing and the wrong thing happened. The scripture says rain falls on the just and the unjust. There are forces of darkness trying to keep you from your destiny. Even though it's painful now, if you'll stay in faith, that will lead you toward your destiny. Take what was meant for harm and use it to your advantage. When you go through something you don't understand, doesn't make sense, have a new perspective. The reason God allowed it is because He can trust you. Maybe you've been through something you don't understand. Life hasn't turned out the way you'd hoped. It's painful. It's easy to take on a victim mentality. Why did these people mistreat me growing up? Why did I have this bad break? It's because God knows He can trust you. Just like God said to Satan, you can test Job, but you can't take his life. I know what Job's made of. God is saying the same thing about you. I'm going to bring them out better, and I'm going to use them to help other people who are struggling in the same areas. There's a purpose for that pain. Cindy Leitner received a phone call saying that her 13-year-old daughter, Carrie, had been hit by a car. Unfortunately, Carrie lost her life that day. The man driving the car was under the influence of alcohol. This mother was devastated. When she heard that, something rose up in her like she had never felt. She started a new organization. She called it MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Today, her organization has saved hundreds of thousands of lives, changed laws. Cindy Leitner understands this principle. She didn't waste her pain. She could have sat around depressed, bitter, blaming God, but she didn't put a question mark where God put a period. Today, she's impacting the world. I believe you and I can find the purpose in our pain. Keep moving forward. Do like she did. Go out and encourage somebody else. You have something to give others. You can encourage people who are going through what you've been through. We've all been through things that are uncomfortable. We didn't like it, but God made a way when we didn't see a way. God's counting on us to let our light shine. Be on the lookout for somebody you can encourage. Don't waste your pain. Don't sit around feeling sorry for yourself. Go out and lift somebody else up.
That opposition, those obstacles that you will encounter, that's how you become stronger. And here's what I want to say to you. For those of you that have experienced some hardships, don't give up on your dream.
Everything you need is already inside of you. It is. You're just afraid to use it. You're just afraid to use it.
Take the first step. The first step is always the hardest step because it forces you like a chick breaking out of an egg when it hatches. The first step forces you to break out of your comfort zone. And the comfort zone is so strong that probably 90% of people are held back from their full potential all their life because of this vice-like comfort zone. And when you take the first step, the only way you can do it is break out. And suddenly you see the second step and the third step and the fourth step. And then as you take the steps, your self-esteem goes up and your self-confidence goes up and you become more creative and you start to think of all kinds of ideas. And so this is the difference between top people, is they have a big idea of what's possible and they take the first step.
The first huge advantage that personal growth gave me was that it gave me a head start over my peers. Because most people don't grow every day personally. Most people are not in that game. So if you're in that game, you begin to have what I call a decided advantage. When you do things that others do not do, you begin to experience things that others do not experience. And you begin to become things that others do not become.
Wouldn't you want to know what would happen if you spent just 1 year giving it your absolute all? You gave your diet your absolute all. You gave your fitness regimen your absolute all. You gave your work your absolute all. How drastically would your life change in just 1 year? 1 year of uninterrupted focus. I bet your life would change drastically. I bet you'd be a completely different person. I bet you'd be completely unrecognizable. I bet you would look back and be like, I can't believe I was living the way I was. Time is going to pass anyway. The next year of your life is going to happen regardless of what you do. So why don't you spend that year giving it your absolute all and just see what happens? If you do that, I guarantee you will look back 1 year from today and say, that was the best decision I have ever made.
Only you have what you're gonna bring, literally. Nobody has it. No one. So there's kind of a beautiful strength and confidence that comes when you realize that you're the only one that got what you got.
If you're truly willing to win in life, you will evaluate yourself, see where you're falling short, see where you need to improve on, and then take the necessary steps. But it's very hard to have that realization of how mediocre you are, of how lazy you are, of how you've been lying to yourself for years. It's very hard to be real with yourself. But once you do become real with yourself and accept the responsibility that where you are right now is a direct result of your thoughts and your actions, then you can flourish. Then you can really get started.
Most people don't work hard enough for the results they want. They think the world owes them something, but the reality is, it doesn't. For most people, it's a lot of talk and no action. Always telling people what they're gonna do, but never actually following through with what they say. Don't be like most people. If you want to be the exception, prove it. Show up, work harder, demand more from yourself than anyone else. That's how you get to where you want to go. So keep going.
The path of least resistance never makes you happy. It's like, you have to push yourself. Your life self-esteem, esteem for yourself is earned by you doing something difficult for you.
So easy for us to get down on ourselves when we mess up and fall into this trap of thinking that we should be doing everything perfect. And all those things require struggle, setbacks, mistakes, falling short. But it's okay. Not getting so down on myself and feeling like I have to do everything right all the time, because I don't. You don't, we don't. There's so much beauty in making mistakes and being able to learn from it and grow from it, and make the better decision next time.
Own your decisions, which means also own your mistakes. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. Absolutely nothing. The more you make, the more resilient you become. Resilience is the ability to endure something difficult, and then, if you hit a wall, if you don't succeed, your ability to recover and bounce back. But if you spend your entire time avoiding stress, avoiding conflict, avoiding problems, how will you build your resilience? You will never build it.
You have nothing in this world to conquer or to challenge or to transcend apart from your mind. All your neighbors live here. Your enemies and friends live here. Your gods and demons live here. And yourself, imagine, lives here.
Growth is very uncomfortable. We all know that. Outside your comfort zone where growth takes place. And for a lot of people, they're comfortable, right? They're comfortable with the same habits that don't serve them. They do the same things expecting a different life. And I want to tell everybody this. If you're trying to go to a next level in your life, there's certain things you have to give up if you're going to move up. Certain friends you're going to have to give up maybe. And sometimes the journey is lonely. Sometimes it gets hard. You question yourself. But I'll tell you this. Just because the path is lonely doesn't mean the path isn't perfect for your life.
You have to go through the fire first. You have to experience the full fall into complete self-loathing in order to come around to something like the forgiving of oneself. It's when you skip responsibility, when you use a substitute emotion like guilt, which is of no use to anyone. But if you feel the real thing, which is shame, hatred, humiliation, and self-loathing, that is the door. And if you get through that, then you can forgive yourself.
If you are living a comfortable life, it only means you are continuously staying inside a field of what you know already. Every time you are expanding that border, you are expanding that limit. For me, this means there is some growth.
Hello guys, today our script is imagination is everything. Imagination is the spark of that ignited creativity, the key that unlocks the door to endless possibilities. It's the force that drives inventions. The walls sparing from which art, science and progress flow. In the classroom, it's the teacher using students to think beyond the obvious or to dream big and explore new ideas. In the workshop, it's me. It's the inventor inventing a world where problems are solved and lives are improved by bold inventions. In the studio, it's the art of transforming a bank of convention into a masterpiece, expressing emotions and ideas that transcend the world. In the laboratory, the scientists passing the abundance of knowledge, driven by constantly a force of the power of imagination. In the water room, it's storyable waving tapes that transport us to distant lands, speaking empty for an understanding. Imagination knows no boundaries to the transport is currently the background is the common thread for content as all. So let your imagination soar, dare to dream the possible because it's realm of possibilities.